Hi, I'm Chase Chapman, Private Wealth Advisor with the Entertainment and Sports Division of Regions Bank. Today I have Jordan Rowe with me, singer-songwriter with River House Artists and Tape Room Music. Jordan, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So Jordan, last year we're in the middle of a pandemic and you released your debut album, Bad Case of the Good Old Boy. Tell me about that. How was that received, given that it was done in the middle of a pandemic?
It was a challenge, but it was a fun challenge. We were so excited to put it out, and everybody asks me if the pandemic hurt or helped, and a lot of people say it hurt, but I think it helped because having those months where you couldn't go out and do anything else allowed us to have so much time to write songs and get the songs right.
So obviously I've listened to the album front to back a dozen times over. I love it. Obviously you've got some great country music influences on there, like Eddie Montgomery, Red Akins, Tracy Lawrence. Tell me what it was like working with those guys.
Appreciate that, man. That was incredible. It was surreal. I grew up listening to all three of those guys. So Eddie, if you don't know, he's with Montgomery Gentry, who I grew up just loving. All three of those guys. That Ain't My Truck by Red Akins is one of my favorite songs ever. Paint Me a Birmingham, Something to Be Proud of. So growing up, I can remember being in my dad's truck, going down the road, singing those at the top of my lungs. And when I had the opportunity to work with those guys instead of just listen to them, I was, so excited. And they were, they say don't meet your heroes because you never know how they're going to be. And that was absolutely not the case with those guys. They were all so awesome to work with, so nice. And they just did it because they really loved the music and they love, kind of bringing it back to that 90s sound and that early 2000s sound. And they were awesome.
So, of course, we talk about the 90s influences. These guys were huge 90s songwriters, artists. So your style is unlike that of so many others these days, and you really have that 90s feel to it. So tell me about, obviously, your influences. We already talked about a few of them, but what other influences, how did you decide you wanted to produce or create 90s style music?
I think, I always tell my producers and my managers this, if you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're never going to stand out. If everybody did what everybody else had always done, we wouldn't have driven a car this morning. We wouldn't have turned on the lights. And I think music goes in cycles, just like, the stock market or any kind of other business. And you see everybody fall in love with the 90s countries, and then you see, the progression of the pop sounds into it. And it was cool there for a while, but now you see a demand for it to go back the other way. Well, I don't know, just 90s country has more of a good feel to it. You know what I mean? It's more produced, it's bigger, it's more raw, and there's more, I would say it's more musical. I know that's kind of weird to explain, but there's more musicianship in how it's played versus a lot of the, loops in modern country. And, we work both of those into ours because you can't just jump all the way into it.
So we talked about the pandemic and not being able to be in person with folks. Well, of course, we got to look at the root of that, where we're looking at the songwriting, where the creation of these songs. And obviously, you had to do a lot on Zoom, I'm sure. So what were the Zoom songwriting sessions like? I'm sure that was completely new.
It was so weird at first. It was because, none of us had ever used Zoom. It's obviously a little higher quality FaceTime, I guess. But, to get on there and talk and have a conversation like we're doing now is one thing. But to get on there and write a song is a whole nother animal. Because one of the big problems was the delay of sound, because one guy's playing a guitar on there and it's just distorted, and some of the microphones think that that's background noise and it's trying to block it out. So after a few weeks of learning, kind of what settings to push and different things, everybody kind of got used to it and got settled into that groove, and we had to, because we had to adapt, and we did that for over a year.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're still Zooming. But, the pro side of it, I think, is people realized how much you can get done, from the comfort of your own home, even whether it's writing songs or having any kind of marketing conversation or whatever it be. It's really easy to go back and finish songs now because if we don't get it done in the room, we can just go, hey, let's just hop on a Zoom at 9 in the morning.
That's a good point.
And get it done. And so, we even use that trick to this day. I think, something else that helped us in the pandemic was regions. One thing is the PPP loan. If I hadn't, you actually called me about that. I never would have known about that had you not called me and said, hey, you can use this and you need to apply for this. I would have never known it. And what we did with that money was help us record. It helped us get touring equipment we needed. So that was super helpful. And you'll come to our shows. You come to our shows, whether it's a writer's round or a small acoustic event, to support us. So that's always awesome. I think that's the big thing with Regions is just having someone that you can count on.
Sure. Well, and it's in our best interest to make sure that you're out there creating music, becoming the star that you're going to be.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all.
So, Jordan, of course, you're never at a show where you're not wearing the Support Local Farmers hat that you're wearing right now. So tell us where that came from, what that means to you.
So I grew up in South Georgia around farming all my life. I had some family that farmed, and I worked on a farm in high school. And then I went to college at the University of Georgia for agriculture and studied agribusiness and agricultural and applied economics. When I graduated there in 2019, I moved up to Nashville to do music full time, but I knew I always wanted to be involved with the agricultural community. So I started this campaign called Support Local Farmers, and we've got these hats, we've got koozies, t-shirts that we sell as our merch out at our live shows and on our website. And we started a scholarship for students of agricultural families who want to go to college and study that. So I'm trying to, invest back in agriculture and appreciate where our food comes from. So a portion of all those proceeds from our merch sales are going to that scholarship fund.
That's great. And what does success look like for you in the coming years?
I think one thing, I'm a very goal-oriented person. I just always have been. I have to have a dragon slay every day when I wake up and, have something tangible to work towards. For me right now, that's a record deal. That's what I'm really trying to go after right now. And success with that, I would love to have a song on the radio, a single to radio, and take it to the top and have a number one. Have a major cut on a major artist. That's another goal of mine. But also just one goal of mine is just to enjoy the now. I get so caught up in trying to chase those things and chase what's next that a lot of times I forget to appreciate, where God's got me already on this journey and kind of look around and appreciate that. So one goal is to be more thankful for where I'm at now and just enjoy the whole process as we're getting to those goals in the coming years.
Well, I know your music, and I know it won't be long until that number one hits. So
hey, we'll be
here for you when it does.
Hey, there we go.